I'm Justin Davis, and this is RunCam's RC. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Justin Davis. Today we're going to talk about FPV wings and what to use for your first FPV wing. It's going to give you a variety of different options. This is the SonicModell AR.Wing, and it's a pretty good beginner wing, mainly because it's pretty easy to build. It's about $100 with all the power system included with the ESC. You have a 30 amp ESC in here and a 2204 2300 kV motor. So you can also upgrade this motor if you have other multi-rotor quad motors laying around like 2205s or a 2306. You could upgrade that and put a little more power on the back, but with a 30 amp ESC you can also run this 3 or 4S. So on 4S it's going to be a lot faster and a lot zippier. If you're just starting out, I would probably recommend doing it on 3. Now you could do 2, but that's really, it's not going to give you enough juice, probably even get going. So do 3 or 4S and you'll be good to go. So I'm going to take a moment to show you what's included with this AR.Wing and what you need to get this one up in the air and doing some FPV. And after that, we'll go outside and do some flying. So if you're thinking about a wing for your first wing for FPV, this is probably an easy one to do and an easy one to set up. It took me literally minutes to put this wing together and to put some of the gear inside here. Now I'm going to go over the wing specs real quick. It is a 35.4 inch wing from wingtip to wingtip, 900 millimeters across, and it is rocking some 9-gram servos, which is pretty standard for most wings. Now this is nice because it already does have winglets on the end, and the winglets are going to help stabilize this wing a lot more for beginners. If you're already used to flying wings and you understand the stall points of them, you can take these winglets off and you can really get up a lot of speed. So, but this is just going to add you some extra stabilization while you're flying. Now it does not have any type of gyro on here or onboard help for stabilizing this wing. So since there's no stabilization on here, this is a fully manual wing. So I would recommend possibly getting some type of FPV Wing simulator software, maybe some type of RC airplane software, and flying some RC airplanes with your transmitter. If you fly the simulator religiously for say 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, and then you go pick up an FPV wing, you're probably going to have a better experience because you're going to have a better understanding of the characteristics of how these wings fly. Now this one is EPP also, by the way, and that means it's super dense. It's not the crappy coffee cup foam. This stuff is super durable, and most guys that fly airplanes really like EPP for that fact. You've got that little hand launch piece on the bottom, and what I typically do is I do a side toss. So I hold it like this and I throw it as straight as I can this direction, so it doesn't put my hand in the path of the prop. I've seen people actually cut their fingers by doing launches like this. There's also the overhead method where people do it this direction, but I prefer the hand toss from the side like this. Now I do have a RunCam Sparrow coming up through here, and this top canopy just removes like that. You can set that to the side, and that's also magnetic, which is cool. Now you have a little closer view of the inside where the battery bay is and where I have my ESC. This is the ESC that comes with it. It does have a built-in BEC and it's 30 amps. So like I said, it could probably handle 3 to 4S. 5S would probably be pushing this pretty much. But it does have a standard XT60 on here. You can also use your, say like your 4S 1500 battery, because it will fit in there quite nicely. I wouldn't use anything lower than a 1500 because you're going to be pushing a lot of amps when you're flying a wing through this control system, through this power system. Now I did do a separate FPV system over here. I have a JST connector here, and I have a little extra space just behind the main battery right here to add in a little tiny battery for my FPV system. Now I just simply put a 200 milliwatt transmitter right over here on the side, and I ran my Team Black Sheep antenna out the back here, and all I had to do was really just cut a little bit of a spot away to get this antenna out the top. Pretty simple to do. You also get 2 or 3 different types of front ends on this. This is the GoPro one right here. There's another type of camera one here, and they all have magnetic on off, really quick release front ends, so that's pretty nice if you wanted to swap this out and do something else. But what I would do is, if you're gonna go GoPro up here, I would commit to this mount right here and go ahead and use some CA and glue this all in. You can also use hot glue on EPP, low temp hot glue. And one of the reasons I do prefer a GoPro type camera in the front of my wings is because it helps with the CG and it helps put a lot of weight forward. You need a good amount of weight forward on flying wings for some reason. And you can see here that I pretty much have the ESC mounted right in the middle, and you're going to try to get your battery centered up as best you can before you fly it, and also kind of counterweight some of this stuff. I have my receiver over on this side, and I have my VTX and antenna on this side. I also have my satellite antenna running out the outside right here, and you want to mount this on the outside if you're doing that. Probably the top is going to be best. And then I have my VTX wire running through here plugged into my RunCam Sparrow. Now I'm using an AR-8000 receiver, so I should get a really nice range out of that receiver. Now, if you're wondering where the CG points are for balancing out this wing, they're clearly labeled on the right and left. There's a little CG right here, and where you can put your finger there to balance it out and see if it balances on your fingers. If you do have another type of system, which is like a balancing rod system, you can use that in your shop as well. There's also a CG on this side right here and a little spot for your finger. Now, they also have carbon spars already embedded down into the wing on the right and left, right up front. This gives a little better rigidity when you're at high speeds, which is super nice. And in the back here, we have that it's a D2204 motor, and it's a 2300 kV. And this is very similar to what we have on race quads, but it's running a 6x4 prop back here. And this is a pusher prop, so when you fire this up on your bench for the first time and you're checking motor direction, if it's going the wrong direction, it's going to be kind of pulling this direction, and it's going to be blowing wind this direction. So what you want in this setup is you want it to be pushing the plane forward, and you want to feel wind behind the plane. So if you feel anything different than that, you probably don't have it going the right direction. Now, you don't have to switch it in your radio. Most of you old school electric airplane guys know that all you have to do is get inside here and switch two of these ESC wires going to the motor. Once you switch two wires, it should reverse the direction of the motor. Now, I wanted to show you in my radio what type of wing type I have selected here for Spectrum users. It's set up to Elevon B right here, and you do have several different types of wing types you can choose in here. Elevon, Elevon B, you have flaperons, all flaps, and standard airplane setups with dual ailerons or flaperons. I might have mentioned flaperons earlier, but the setup for this one is going to be Elevon B, so make sure you have that setup. It's exactly like the Manta setup. If you have a Manta, you could probably just copy that model, make a new model, and this would be exactly the same, and then you're not going to have to do any mixing. So I'm going to go back to the list, go back up to the main screen, and I'll go ahead and plug it in for you. I'm just going to show you how it should look once you plug everything in. So you're going to do a pre-flight checklist, and I always add some type of throttle kill switch. Now the motor is armed, and now it's not. I would always add that to any type of wing. So if you accidentally bump the throttle, you're not going to power up and have it fly out of your hands. So you can see this one's actually says Manta still right here. So I just copied and made a new model. So we're going to go ahead and show you the direction, and I'll just put this so it's facing the back here. So when I go left stick here, this left aileron should move up. So you see it, left is up. Now when I go right, it's going to go up just like that. Left, right, okay. So that's good. Now if I go pull back on the stick, they should both raise up at the same time. So now they both raise up, and when I push forward, they should both go down, which would bring the nose down. Up, down, left, right. Okay, we're good. And just to do a little throttle test, I can arm it and do the kill switch there. And I'm feeling wind go this direction, so now I'm all good. All I have to do is install my FPV battery, and we can go do some flying. Now also guys, I'll try to put some links down below for the extra items needed if you decide to build this wing, so that you'll have a full list of things down below for a VTX, like a 200 milliwatt VTX. You can also run 600 on here, which would make it go a lot further. If you're flying an FPV wing, you might as well go ahead and throw 600 on there, because most times when we're flying wings, we're not flying with a bunch of people. If you're going to be doing races with other people, wing races, use 200. That way you can switch channels and you're not going to blow other people out. And this is a pretty cheap receiver, and I'll post some links for different various RunCams too, maybe even that RunCam Sparrow. You'll get to check out what that looks like on the screen here in just a second. So without further ado, let's go ahead and go outside and have some fun.
All right, so we're going to do a line of sight flight test. I've got my Fat Shark goggles over here recording the FPV, so I'll go ahead and do a hand launch. And like I said before, I'm going to do that side toss, and it's always a little bit sketchy. I had to put some more expo in this because it's super twitchy. So if you're flying Spectrum, make sure whatever you do to add plenty of expo, maybe 40% expo. So I'm good to go. I'm on 4S battery. Here we go. And launching it on 3S seemed like a little bit underpowered. So if you have this, I'd probably run this 4S. That's going to give you plenty of power to get off the ground, and you're not going to fly into the ground. Just give it a nice up toss. To show you, it does have some speed, and the ailerons are quite sensitive. So dial yours back before you fly it the first time, especially if this is your first wing. For God's sake, put some expo in it, guys. But it's pretty mild on about half throttle and pretty predictable. It's actually really windy today, so I think if it was like one of those really nice calm days, this would be a great cruiser. Especially if you decided to put some iNav, maybe an Omnibus F3 in there with a barometer and some GPS. You could have a real cool sort of high-end FPV wing out of this thing for pretty cheap, actually. So that black bottom is pretty easy to see, and then when I turn over, I can see the top where I have those racing stripes. And I don't have any telemetry set up on here yet or anything fancy, but hey, remember, no rudder on this guy. Just straight cruising around. They come in a little lower to the field. But days like today, those outside winglets are really helping out a lot. Just gonna come in kind of low, and a lot of times the way I land is I keep spiraling down and just get lower and lower to the grass. If I need to land really fast, sometimes I'll just do a diving land where I kind of do like a Navy type landing where I come in really fast and set it down in a short space. But you don't have to have any kind of flight controller on this. You just hook up your receiver to this, add a camera, and you can be FPV in this one without having to mess with beta flight or any of that. Just put some good expo in your controller, and you can FPV this with not a real complicated setup. Just don't forget to put a throttle cut on this thing. But like I said, it is pretty predictable. See that roll there? Another roll. I've got plenty of maneuverability with it. Gonna come back in around this direction. Really nice flyer though. 4S is where it's at on this wing, for sure. It's actually pretty awesome. So there's plenty of room to grow. There's tons of room in that cockpit right behind the main battery. Right now I've got a 4S 1500 in there, so just one of my quad batteries I used. And this thing's a cruiser. I think if the wind dies down, I'll be pretty golden with this. Come in for a tower buzz. Super quick. There's a little bit of waddle in the wing tips. That's what those stabilizers do on the end. They help clear up some of that waddle. Some other wings that I've flown that don't have them tend to have a little more waddle. That's that back and forth motion you see, but sometimes it can be just turbulence that it's going through, or not enough speed and you're hitting a stall point, stall zone. These wings do like a lot of speed, so higher the throttle, the happier it is. And my ailerons, or my elevator is not super aggressive, so I did a loop earlier and it was a little bit sketchy. It's kind of a big loop. Last time I flew a wing for you guys, it was the Flybot wing, and I did a loop straight into the ground. Tested out the durability factor. I didn't destroy it though. The wings flew off like they were supposed to. Man, this is overcast and I can still really see this wing really well. The sky's nice and bright though, that helps over on this side. And I feel like if I crashed this one, it wouldn't be the biggest thing in the world because it is EPP. And right now, as I'm flying it, I didn't have to use any glue on this, which is kind of amazing. It just put together with a carbon spar, thumb screws on the wings, and simple as that. Other wings I've built, every single one of them I always have glue. So if you're gonna build this one, go ahead and glue the wings together. If you want them to stay detachable, you can do that too, if that's what you want. Just have a nice easy landing when you come in so you don't break those thumb screws. And I guess you could always glue it back in if you needed to. But that's the life of the modeler, you know? Sometimes you break stuff and you gotta figure out a way to innovate and fix it. Pretty cool little wing for $100. Not bad at all. Doing some really nice circuits. You should get a pretty good flight time out of a 4S 1500. Wow, it's really windy up there right now, so I'm probably gonna bring it down and land pretty soon. Just gonna make my way around. Some big gusts coming through. And the ground's a little bit wet right now, so my GoPro got condensation inside the lens. So right now what you're probably looking at is the FPV recording coming from that RunCam Sparrow. So kind of give you an idea of how good that RunCam Sparrow is. Now I'm assuming that this ESC has low voltage cutoff protection. So if you hit the low voltage mark on this wing, it's probably going to cut the motor. And you'll just have to glide in. You'll still have servo control, but you won't have any more power. So keep that in mind. But this will be pretty cool to throw some TBS crossfire on, maybe do a long range setup with this, because it's not the most expensive wing in the world, and it's big enough in the cockpit to be able to add all kinds of goodies that I want to add in there. So I'm going to circle back around. I'm going to try to land right in front of myself here. Wish me luck. I've got the wind to my back, so I'm coming in with a nose wind, which is really good. Headwind. That's the way you want to land one of these wings. All right, right there. Pretty cool. So came back in one piece, and I like it. I've got my TBS antenna out the top there, my satellite there, and I'm taking it home all in one piece. That's like when you know you had a good day, when you're bringing everything home. You didn't even break a prop. 6-inch prop back there. And you know, I think it could use a little bigger motor, honestly. I think we could probably upgrade this motor. Maybe to the 2205 or the 2306 might be good. And I think this wing would have plenty of power. 4S 2205 would definitely be a good upgrade. So grab one of those E-Maxes. Those are pretty cheap. I think they're about $12 to $15. But not a bad setup, and fairly water resistant for today. So cool. I'm happy with this one. You can check this out in the link below. I'll try to get you guys a coupon for this one. Pretty awesome wing. Thanks again for hanging out on my channel, you guys. I'm Justin. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.